Good afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and call to order Town Council work session for April 15, 2025. And if you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to those who've joined us by live stream via YouTube, and thank you for all the directors and staff that are here today. And we'll go ahead, I just want to make it aware, we're going to do items 1 through 3 here in the council chambers, and then we'll reconvene and take care of the other items on the third floor training room. So we'll move right now into the second thing on the agenda, and that will be the recommended budget by Town Manager Vosburgh. It is my understanding that this is a presentation only, no questions, right?
That's the plan.
Something like that.
That's the plan. I'll talk a little bit about that. So I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah.
It's a little different from our normal work sessions. We're using this time to do the presentation. We're keeping it at a high level, and then I'll talk about the opportunities as you digest the information that we've shared with you.
Very well. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to be here to present to you the fiscal year 25-26 budget, especially since today marks my 1-year anniversary with the town. So thank you. It's definitely been rewarding. It's come with its challenges as well, as you know, but I couldn't have done it without your support and without the support of those behind me, both in the room and figuratively behind me. So I do want to thank everyone for their support. This budget is no exception. There came tremendous amount of support as we worked through to prepare this budget. I want to recognize our budget staff. I think we've got one representative in the audience from budget staff. And then I also want to thank everyone from our leadership team who is here as well. So thank you so much for your help and support. All right, here's the lay of the land for today. We've got a couple of items that we want to go through as we show you how we've built the recommended budget that we're bringing before you. We're going to talk a little bit about some of our success from 24-25, talk about strategies, some of the drivers that led to our recommendations in the budget. We'll, of course, talk about the budget summary. We'll talk about property tax and rates, and we'll also go into portfolio recommendations and then talk about next steps. And this is, I want to pause for 1 second here and encourage you to take a step back as we go through this and recognize that from a big picture, I want to congratulate you as elected officials and for Team Apex. When you look at the big picture, we're charged with doing a lot of things as a local government, right? But at the core, what we're here to do is be a part of building a thriving community. We hear a lot about traffic, home prices, school capacity, all valid concerns that we need to hear about. But if you think about why we're hearing about those things, it's because people want to be here, right? And you as elected officials and Team Apex have worked together to create a community that people want to be in. We are a community that's in high demand. And with a high demand community come issues like school capacity, house prices, traffic. So all of that is here because we as a community have worked to create a community that people want to be in. So don't lose sight of that as we go through this. Take a moment to celebrate the success of creating a community, because there are a lot of examples out there where that's not the case. There are declining communities. There are communities that people don't want to be a part of, and that's not Apex. So we are thriving as a community. So we're going to kind of remind you of a few of those successes over the last year. We've broken this down by areas of our Game Plan Apex, our strategic plan, to show you how we've built value. So this is a look on our welcoming community. And again, we could have had 20 more slides on this, so we've picked some of the highlights. But from a welcoming community, we've just initiated our street hockey rink. We've got our neighborhood improvement grants. We've upgraded crosswalk beacons. We've got our cricket pitch at JC Park, which has really taken off over the last year. We've done our pickleball and tennis court resurfacing at Kelly Road Park. From a high-performing government, we've got new in-house training programs. We've expanded our lobbying efforts. Our ERP transition, we've moved into phase 2 of that. We've had a lot of meetings related to our general government debt modeling and consultations on that with our financial advisor. We've launched our digital asset management tool. From an environmental leadership standpoint, we've got our town facility solar initiatives. We've got our Plant the Peak program expansion, our pollinator habitat certification program, our EV charger upgrades and additions, our LED street light conversions. We've recently hired the environmental position. We've got our environmental center planning kickoff, and several of you participated in that program as well. From a responsible development standpoint, we've got our Safe Routes to School program expansion. Our affordable housing plan update is underway. We've recently made a purchase, as you're aware, for the affordable housing land purchase that we made, a significant investment there. We're underway with our comprehensive plan update. We continued our pavement management and ADA improvements. From an economic vitality standpoint, our downtown parking mitigation, so the Saunders lot and all the other work that's going on down there to build capacity in our downtown. Our downtown facade grant program that was recently initiated to help spur on additional development in downtown. Our economic development incentives, we continue to meet and incentivize businesses to locate. The Little Beaver Creek gravity sewer extension design. And we continue to upgrade our electric system as well with a recent property purchase for additional substation. Like I said, many slides we could have spent on additional accomplishments. So as we build on that success, we look towards what guides us in our future. There are a couple of main documents that we rely on. I've made reference to Game Plan Apex. I believe we're in year 3 of our strategic plan, so we continue to use that as a guide as we approach budget. Also, significant guide for us is our budget priority survey. So give you a little bit, and these are listed on the screen in rank order, and then within each item, those were the preferences. So number 1 was responsible development from the survey results, and then within maintain and improve an existing roadway, 38% supported that. Welcoming community was next. You can see vibrant and accessible downtown community spaces and improve our existing park and rec facilities. High-performing government, customer service is a priority. That's not really a surprise given the customer service event that we've gone through this last year. So that's still a significant item for our residents. Also, active community engagement and communication, which matches up with our exciting launch for our community engagement program and all the different initiatives that they're putting out there in the community. Environmental leadership, there was a desire for community forestry efforts. And then economic vitality to continue to expand infrastructure and support new and growing businesses. Also, one of the guiding items, council, right? So we actually listen when you talk. We've had several opportunities and meetings with you. We've had our strategic plan update meetings. We've had council retreat. We've had numerous workshops and received input in different fashions from each one of you. We've listed here the council priorities. These were definitely factors as we worked to come up with our recommended budget. We looked at data, right? And this is just a sampling of some of the data points that we looked at. If you look at our population growth, and I would submit that number's probably outdated already. I've heard north of 80,000. So we're showing officially just around the 80,000 in population. You look at our COs, and that's an estimated number. That number of 708 will be above 1,000 by the end of the year, based on our projections. So we're still seeing a significant number of COs. While it isn't at the high on 2020 of around 2,000, we've hovered above the 1,000 mark for the last few years and are expecting to, at least for this year. We also look at our average home value, and I've seen different numbers on this, but it's currently, depending on your data source, in 2025, we're sitting a little over 600,000 on that average home value. We've got some revenue challenges that we're looking at. So as you know, our primary sources of revenue come down to property tax and sales tax. So under property tax, we've seen a couple indicators that are troublesome. The first is a drop in county tax collection rate, which sounds minor, but for each tick, and we have a pretty good, I was talking to Sean about this, compared to other jurisdictions I've been in, we have a pretty high rate of collection. But for each 1/10 of a point that collection rate goes down, it's a $200,000 impact to Apex's budget. So if we're at 99.9% collection rate and it goes down to 99.8, that's $200,000 off of our revenue collection. That's
what's going on with
it's you get fewer people, as economic indicators would say. You have fewer people that may be paying on time or being able to pay their property taxes. So we have that's a pretty high collection rate. So you start to see just a little tick. It may not be a huge indicator, but it still translates to real dollars, $200,000 for each tenth of a point that it goes down. The next item is a record number of appeals. As you know, we're on the heels of the reassessment, and so there are 1,100 pending appeals on values, which is a record number from what we've been told. Also, there's some uncertainty with vehicle value projections. As we know, there's a lot of talk about tariffs and other economic indicators that drive used car prices, existing cars. So there's some uncertainty in the market related to vehicle prices. Also, as is typical every year, a number of bills get filed that can impact us in a different way. So there are 15 bills that have been introduced at the General Assembly that could have an impact on property taxes beginning in fiscal year 27. So looking beyond this year to the next year, some things can happen to us from the state level. Under sales tax, we've seen retail sales slowing. The exception is in grocery, but we believe that is mainly due to the inflationary factors impacting groceries. Also, federal level decisions are creating uncertainty and volatility in the market. I think it's hour by hour at this point on what changes and how the market reacts, but all that's kind of got consumers a little worried, and so they're hesitant and not spending as much, aren't comfortable spending as much as they used to. On the expense side, so we are still seeing inflationary pressures. We're seeing increases in bid prices and fewer bids. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Equipment and supplies inflation, we've seen, depending on what we're talking about, anywhere from 35 to 65% increases. LED lights, we've seen increases in pipe, building materials. Bids exceeding engineering estimates, not to bring up a sore subject. Tunstall House, 33% increase over the engineer estimate on that particular item. The Jones Street improvement, we saw 40% over the estimate. And we're also seeing longer lead times for equipment and vehicles. A fire engine, we're looking at 2+ years. And think of the uncertainty within 6 months right now on some of those commodities that we're purchasing. So 2 years on a fire engine, transformers 2 years, and electric meters, we're seeing 5 months on that. So a lot of pressures on the expense side as well. From an employee standpoint, and you've probably heard me talk about this. I know I talked about it in my interview a year ago, a little over a year ago, and I've talked to our workforce about it. So when I talk about the three things that we're here for, number one, we're here to serve our residents, right? Number two that I emphasize is maintaining public trust. And number three is taking care of our employees. And I think that that third one is extremely significant, because if we can do a good job on that third piece, then we're going to maintain public trust and we're going to take good care of our residents. And so we put a lot of emphasis on taking care of our employees, but that doesn't come cheap, right? There's a cost with taking care of our employees. There are non-monetary things that we can do, but there are monetary things that we have to do to stay with the market and to take care of our employees. Part of this is based on our employee checkup. You've seen the results of that, and exhaustion was mentioned. That's a town-wide theme that we have. How do you get to exhaustion? There are a lot of different ways that you address it. One of those is resources, right? So you'll see, and we'll go through the different portfolios and talk about the positions. We've got 26.5 FTEs that we're recommending for the general fund. We've got 2 FTEs from the electric fund and 4 related to water and sewer. Compensation. So we are proposing in this budget a 2% market increase. That will be for everybody across the board with the market, and then a merit average of 3%. I will note that that is a decrease of our current merit average. Current budget, we are at a 4% merit average, so this takes it down to a 3%. We, based on economic indicators and where we might be heading with some things, we wanted to be a little more conservative on that number. And we also believe that this keeps us competitive in the region. We've had a meeting and talked to the different managers and are looking at what rates they're going up for their employees. And at this average 5% keeps us competitive in our region, we believe. Also, benefit increase, there's some pressures there. Retirement, we've seen worse, but a 1% increase in retirement is still significant for our organization. Health insurance, a 16.6% increase. So that is significant and something we've had to accommodate in the budget. And dental, a little bit lower at 5.2% increase. All right, so how does this look for the overall budget? All-in budget, around $239 million. How that breaks down, a little over $115 million for our general fund, Our next largest fund is electric at a little over $64 million. Water and sewer behind that at about $31 million. And then our non-major and debt fund expenditures right near $25 million, and stormwater fund a little over $3 million for the total of around $239 million. So what does that translate to for property tax rates, electric rates, water rates, sewer rates? And I'll go into more detail on this on following slides. Property tax rate, we are recommending a rate of 36.5 cents. That is up from 34 cents. So that's a 2.5 cent increase from current year. On the electric rates, we are recommending a change to the base charge to go to $28, and then a per kilowatt energy charge of 0.1178 cents. That is an increase of our base rate of $1.50, and that's an increase on the electric charge of 4%. On the water side, we're looking at a base charge of $6.49. And then obviously it's tiered for your consumption, but we're looking at an overall increase of about 4% on the rates. Sewer as well, we're looking at a base rate change to $12.10, and then a sewer volume rate increase of 4%. Like I said, I'll go into a little more detail on subsequent slides. Talking a little bit about our tax rate to put it in perspective. Our current rate of 34 cents, if you look in our recent history, this goes back, I think it's 16 years, we're tied for the lowest rate we've been in 16 years. I think that is significant because a rate of 34 cents in 2010 is much different from a rate of 34 cents in 2025. So then you can see the uptick to 36.5 as proposed. If you do the math on the average for the last 10 years, we hover around 40 cents. So even at a rate of 36.5, we are below the 10-year average of 40 cents. Budget gaps. So what you're seeing now is a result of much work and much effort and some painful cuts that we've had to make and our directors and team have had to make to get us to this point. We started out, this number shows 14 million. I think I saw a number even before that. We were at $16 million of requests over revenue. So how did we get there? And you'll see more of this in the portfolio presentations. We made a significant cut to our capital investments, 5.4 million. We've made a reduction in personnel requests. I want to say we had somewhere between 60 and 70 positions requested, and we're funding probably around a third of those, if my math's correct. Operating, we looked at a reduction of 3.1 million, and then as a last resort, we looked at an increase to revenue. So that's on the general fund side. On the electric side, capital, for the total, we were about 4.5 million out on the electric fund. We reduced capital investments by 3.2. It doesn't mean we won't have to make those capital investments, but we're going to have to look at some other funding mechanism, whether it's some kind of financing or how we get there on that. Personnel, we had a reduction of 500,000 from what was requested. Operating, a reduction in 300,000 from what was requested. And then you see the impact of the base fee and rate increase there, in addition to the cost of power, which I'll talk about in a second. Water sewer fund, we were about 4 million out from request. We reduced capital investment by 3.3 million, and then the rest was between operating and personnel to get to the 4 million.
Randy, can you speak to the thing you learned about with the debt fund and the whatever percent we were trying to meet? Is this budget doing that, or is that a future thing?
Thank you for that transition. So
okay.
That heads right into the next slide.
Okay, thanks.
So this is a comparison of our property tax recommendation from 24 to 25, and it's color-coded for you to see what we've increased there. So there's complete transparency. There's no magic behind what the increase is led by. There's the base of 34 cents in green. You see the blue box, which is 1.6 cents. That's related to the voter-approved transportation bonds. I think those go back to 2021. So that goes into our capital fund. It's technically into that fund that you're talking about, but it's earmarked towards the transportation piece. So that's 1.6 cents. And then also further to your question, that next looks like a pink box, maybe salmon box. That's 0.4 cents. That goes into our community investment fund, which is that set aside for capital that we've talked about. So when you put the 1.6 plus the 0.4, 2 cents of our 2.5 cent increase is related to our capital fund and our set aside with that earmark towards transportation. The final box, which is the gold yellow box, that's a 0.5 cent increase, and that relates to position requests. And primarily in those, we looked at some that we've been given direction from council on, and also the priority that we know council has put with public safety. So we've got public safety positions, Parks and Rec planner, and CD&C positions in that 0.5. That's tied to the increase. So capital, and then you see a half cent for the positions. How does this impact our residents? This is the chart that everybody likes to see. What's the bottom line for me? You heard me talk about the increase, or the average house price is 600,000-ish in Apex, so I'll zero in on that line. With the 2.5 cent increase, you're looking at a per month increase of $12.50, or approximately $150 a year for a $600,000 property. And you can see the two tiers below 600,000 and the two tiers above 600,000. So I know this is a popular chart as well. So by popular demand, we kept the dollar chart in. The total expenditure budget, it's an increase of 3.06% over the amended 24-25 budget. We also included about $3.8 million in use of fund balance. I won't read the projects that we funded with that fund balance, but you can see those on the screen. You look at the dollar breakdown, and I want to cover, there's a couple nuances to this. You can see our largest expenditure still remains public safety at around 39 cents of every dollar related to general fund. That is followed by general government at 19 cents, culture and recreation at 14 cents, economic and physical development at 12 cents, and then tied at 8 cents would be environmental protection and transportation. The one kind of misleading thing is when you look at transportation, you say, oh, it's such a high priority, why is it only 8 cents? There are other funding sources outside of general fund that fund transportation, so it could be a little misleading, but 8 cents of general fund dollars go towards transportation, but there are other sources funding that.
Randy, I went ahead and looked at the S lines listed as unfunded in one of the pages, and it's listed there as included. So was that one that was kind of a late addition, or?
Yeah, I'm going to let Marty will address that when he comes in.
It's actually unfunded, and I'll talk about that. About them actually saying.
Oh, even though it's on that list as appears to be funded. Okay.
We've been collaborating up until the last minute on this budget. As the nature of the beast.
Are we striking S line from that list, or is it right in the other list?
If you wouldn't mind, indulge me and hold for Marty to come up, and he'll address that.
I'll do.
Thank you. All right, general fund expenditure summary. It's no surprise that our largest investment remains our personnel at approximately 55%, followed by an operating percentage of 25%, debt service 11%, and capital 9%. By the way, not unusual. I think most, if not all, local governments are similar. Electric fund summary from a big picture. Total expenditures a little over $64 million. That's a 5.82% increase over fiscal year 24-25 amended budget. The biggest item here is the purchase for resale. That's 63.7. As you all know, we purchase our power, we don't generate, and so therefore we are at the mercy of those negotiated rates, so to speak. We did work with Electricities, but the purchase of power is about a 3.5% increase this year. And staff did work with other jurisdictions as part of the group to move that down. There was a move that was going to be much higher. So we were pleased that the outcome, it came down to a 3.5% increase, but you can see that that's basically a pass-through on the price of power, and then we have our operational costs on top of that price of power. How does this impact our residents when you look at the power rates? So as I mentioned, the base rate increase of $1.50 and the energy rate increase of 4%. When you look at the chart, the average usage is the 1,150 kilowatt hours, so that's the line I'll zero in on. The monthly change based on the average is $6.68 to the monthly electric bill based on the recommended increases. Water sewer fund summary. Total expenditures a little over $31 million. That is an increase of 5.62% over the 24-25 amended budget. Again, no surprise here, personnel remains the highest investment at 33%, followed by operating at 24.1%, and the purchase for resale 20%, and then debt service and capital. Again, how does this impact our residents? So the base rate increase for water We're looking at a 25-cent increase to the base rate there. For sewer, a 47-cent increase, and then a volume rate increase of 4%. Consumption on this chart, the average is 5,000, so following down the line that says 5 and going all the way across, the cost difference is $3.22, I believe, for the monthly, and that's combined water and sewer. So how does all this water, sewer, electric, solid waste, property tax, how all this impact the average resident in Apex? And that's what this chart demonstrates. You look at solid waste, the combined monthly impact is 35-cent increase. Water, as we talked about, we're looking at $1.15. Sewer, $2.07. Electric, $6.67. We are not proposing an increase in the stormwater fund at this time. Property tax, again, based on the average value, $12.50. And all that rolls up to a $22.74 monthly impact based on the recommended increases that I've outlined for you here. So next, we are going to get a little more granular. I'm going to invite each of our portfolio managers, so our deputy and 2 assistant managers, to come up and present their section for each portfolio. First presentation is Sean. It's going to come up and talk about the performance and strategy portfolio. Round of applause for Sean.
No walk-up music.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you can't do that.
The blush
right.
looks
Hey.
great.
All right, so I'm first because I'm the shortest one to go. So, all right, so good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So, real quick, the first slide here, just going over what portfolio I work with. Again, performance and strategy. Most of this we think about as the internal services, but not trying to start any competition because everybody's great, but it's the best portfolio, and we.
Here we go.
You know, we have great departments all around. So, but I am fortunate to work with this group, and it's an amazing team. But just putting it all in perspective, you can see what we do here. And a lot of our work, reminder, is we're making sure that everyone else that works with the town can go out and do their job to support our residents, right? So you think about HR, you think about budget and finance and IT, economic development, bringing everything in, communications, getting it right. So we're here to support everybody. And so that's a pretty heavy lift at times. The purpose statements are there for you to look over. So what we really want to get into for this budget is that, you know, my 6 departments, you know, overall, not the largest group. So 13.6 million is our budget. You can see the breakdown there to the right of the positions or what is on the left. So these are the positions that we're looking to introduce to the town in fiscal year 26 to enhance our capacity. The communication specialist, there's 3. I do have an asterisk next to it. One of those positions would be the lead for NC fellowship that we've been doing for multiple years now. I think we have our 4th fellow right now, so this would be our 5th fellow in 7 years. So it's been a very strong program. Think about it's very similar to Teach for America. It's actually funded by the same group. It just focuses on local government. So one of those fellows would come into our communications department, and this would be to enhance a lot of our communication programs that we want to do, both internal and external. You know, what are we doing to make sure we're getting our information to our residents? What are we doing to support our departments that are serving our residents? So that's what these positions work toward. Economic development, some additional support at the depot as we try to continue to enhance downtown, welcome center, feeling that sort of thing. Finance, just a little bit of extra help for one of our accountant positions, adding some hours to help that capacity. And then the financial systems analyst, as you know, we've been going through the transition with our ERP, with all our systems, and someone that can continue to help focus on that. We have a lot of new software, a lot of programs, so someone help with that. And human resources, continue to our health and safety. We make sure that we're taking care of our folks and we're doing the right things. So that's to ensure they're safe. And then IT, most of these are mainly tied to, we've already brought in an innovations manager, so this is also tied to our support and cybersecurity to make sure that we're continuing to stay on top of those things. So real quick, yeah, my list won't be as long as the others. That's right. So our projects and programs, some of the funding, it's just to highlight some of the funding that's included in the budget that ties to the strategic plan, Game Plan Apex and some of the priorities you've seen. There is $200,000 in the budget that's different. That's software programs as well as support as we look at smart technology, both in field and different AI components and internally to help us work better, work faster, work smarter. Cybersecurity enhancements, again, same thing, whether it be training, software, other programs, as we want to continue to make sure we stay on top of that. We don't want anything else coming through. Continuing our employee health and safety, I mentioned that. We want to continue to make sure our folks work safely. And then also employee education assistance, this tuition reimbursement sort of thing, trying to enhance that program. We have a lot of folks going and bettering themselves to better our community. So we appreciate that and trying to support that further.
Are these extras from like the current?
Yeah, so these are additional. So these are additional from our baseline. These are new things newly encompassed in this year's budget.
Thanks.
So, and so some other opportunities. Again, not a whole lot. Unfortunately, our team has worked hard to minimize and keep it to the minimum as we could. So there were a few other IT type things for the smart technology and support that we could add, but we pared down a little bit. You saw we still have some, but we pared down some of that. Also with organizational training and staff training, some different opportunities for that we've pared back to just try and get us to the balanced budget that we need, knowing that we have a tight year.
Okay, and this list was proposed that we cut after some negotiation. You cut. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, so all this has been worked with the department. So it's Dimitri and Marty and myself working with the directors working with their teams and going through this. So,
Thank you.
I want to add a couple things to what Sean said. If you look at the positions that we've talked about, council on numerous occasions, we've talked about the cyber event that we had over the last year and some of the areas that we felt like we need to bolster our staffing resources. You'll see that recommended here. That's communications and an IT and making sure that we have the appropriate resources in place. So I did want to point that out. And you'll see the similar format. So to answer your questions, Councilmember Gant, we asked each portfolio to highlight some of those new initiatives that are funded, and then also to leave you with an opportunity if you're like, I think I want to give something back to the budget, put something in, then we've left you with kind of those priorities of unfunded items that we had to reduce in order to get down to where we are.
Okay. Budget.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. I'm next going to ask Marty to come on up with Development and Operations portfolio.
All right, thank you. So Development and Operations portfolio. It's that crew back there in that back corner that makes a lot of things happen here in town. We plan it, we build, inspect, and maintain infrastructure. That's both our infrastructure that we do internally and we help the development community do the same thing, because the development community is actually, that's part of building the town, and we work as a partner with them to do that. And they do a fabulous job. So we have 6 departments in our portfolio, and we have a capitals project manager who works across all departments to help us realize our goals and visions are met by building infrastructure. What makes my portfolio a little bit unique is we have 4 that are in the general fund. So you have building inspections and permitting, planning, and within planning you have current planning and long-range planning, and it also includes our transit division is inside of long-range planning. The general fund also has public works. Divisions there are facilities, fleet, solid waste, and streets, all very important to our community. And then transportation and infrastructure development, which that consists of our transportation engineers, our development services group who helps the development folks after planning has helped them figure out what they're trying to do and get their land use right. And they start submitting plans. They work through our development services group to actually get their plans designed and complete, and then work through our process, and we keep everything bonded and all those great things until the infrastructure gets turned over to the town. And through that process, our infrastructure inspections is also in that group. And then the real estate division is also under TID. Then we have electric utilities, which is an enterprise fund, which means it funds itself, self-supported. And then within water resources, it actually has 2 enterprise funds within water resources. You have water and sewer, which within water and sewer, you have water distribution, sewer collections, the water reclamation facility, and utility engineering. And then you have our stormwater division, which is our last enterprise fund. And within stormwater, we take care of our NPDS Phase 2 permit, erosion control program, and riparian buffer programs, just kind of the main highlights there. So the portfolio has a budget of $140 million. So that is 37.7 million of that's within the general fund, or 26.6%. 102.8 of it is made up of enterprise funds, or 73.4%. And you can kind of see the diagram off to the side there. So it's a very large portfolio. We have 8 new positions that we're asking for this year. 2 new positions in the general fund, which one of those is within facilities. It's a maintenance mechanic. Over the last year, we've added Mason Street Municipal Building. We've added Public Safety Station 6, and we've added Pleasant Park. It has buildings there as well, so that's increasing our workload on our facilities department, so need a little extra help there. And we're looking for a transportation engineer, mainly to help with our succession planning, and also, if you will see, there's a lot of transportation projects going on. And although we have consultants working for us, we really, as the town, need to manage the consultant who's managing our projects. I mean, we still have to be involved to make sure that our money is spent wisely. Within the electric department, we are getting a line technician. They are working toward trying to get to 4-person teams to increase safety and increase ability to be able to not have to join teams, because if you have someone out on a 3-person team, then you really are limited at what you can do. So then that crew has to join another crew, so then you're limiting your output for the day. So we're adding a line technician each year, and this is the 2nd year that we've done that and moving toward going to 4-person teams. And then we're looking at adding an engineering assistant for design. As you well know, we lost an employee earlier this year with about 30 years experience who I think worked about 20 hours a day. And, you know, they were a designer for our team. So that's a whole lot of experience and a whole lot of knowledge that we lost. And so we also have all this new development that's coming, and we needed more horsepower, quite frankly, in that design group. So we need to add a position there so we can keep up with demand. Water Resources is looking at adding an assistant operations and maintenance manager, and that is because if you look at the operations side and maintenance, so they do the water distribution system itself, and that's water quality and the distribution part, and then there's the maintenance, and there's lots of testing that has to be done due to new requirements that are out there. And then, so the growth of that with the sewer and everything else, we really need to split that up so that we can have more supervision in the field, if you will, and some oversight, and that will also help with succession planning within operations to have that assistant operations manager. We're looking at a sewer field supervisor and a water utility technician. Again, both of those positions are to help with maintenance due to just our system size continues to increase. And then we're looking at a utilities engineer to help with the onslaught and continued growth in the development side to overlook all the water extensions and sewer extensions and pump stations and so forth that are happening. All right, this is the reason Sean said his was short. So development operations portfolio. So these are things that are included this year. And I will first like to say that an investment in infrastructure aligns with all 5 of our strategic focus areas of the town. I mean, you can go, well, hold on, that goes in welcoming community, but it also goes with responsible development and economic vitality. You got to have all these things, because if you're in a community that does not have water, does not have good streets, you're not going to have, I mean, you're not going to thrive, right? So all these things work together. Having the facilities for our actual staff and having the tools that they need to be able to serve the public also is critical to being able to serve the community. As Randy was saying, we all these things that we produce and provide, that's why people want to be in Apex, due to decisions that our council and y'all's strategic goals that y'all help us define. So if you look at this, we have an electric system expansion, $5.5 million, annual pavement management, 3.6. I won't go through all of these, but if you look at like green level substation, that $2 million, that is for a transformer that we need to order now, so we'll have it in 2 years. If you recall, we purchased land that you authorized recently on Jinks Road for a future substation. Well, we have the land, we have to order the transformer now, and it takes 2 years to get here. UV system replacement, that's $1.5 million. I want to point that one out because I think that's very important to our environmental leadership. That is at our water reclamation facility. If you've never been there, I've told you before, I've asked you before, please go there. It's really great. It's cool watching that clean water cascade into the dry creek at the end of it and actually seeing a crawdad at the end of it. And if you can see a crawdad in the dry creek where the only water coming there is from your water reclamation facility, you know you have good water quality. There's no doubt about it. To be able to, part of the reason we have that is the UV system that we have at the plant. Our UV system was one of the first in the state, put in around 2000. It is obsolete. Buying the bulbs that go into it are like 50,000 each. They're hard to find, and it's time to really to replace that system. So that's what that 1.5 million is for. Other things you'll see is the streetscape in Salem Street. You knew that was coming. The leaf truck replacement, you know, we got to keep our streets clean. You know, that's another one of the things that our citizens and residents absolutely love is how we do our yard waste collection. And that requires us making capital investments. Some of these are smaller, a little bit. The Howell Road water line, that's to do a loop water line to basically get rid of a dead end and improve water quality. It's responsible development on our part. You go all the way down, the Pleasant Plains Access Study, that is a joint effort with us and Campo. They're putting in $75,000 as well, and that is to look at access points to Pleasant Park. I think that can tie to economic vitality. I mean, that park brings people to the area. I think it ties to a welcoming community. So again, all these things really tie to a lot of these different strategic focus areas. The Vision Zero programs, you'll see there's a combined $310,000 there. A lot of that work includes intersection improvements along Beaver Creek Commons and NC 55. And then we also are replacing these two sewer extensions are also part of our environmental leadership. We like to replace or add extensions to get rid of pump stations when possible. So these two projects on here that are sewer extensions will allow us to eliminate 2 pump stations, one of them at Friendship High School and the other one at the back of Abington. And both of these stations will be able to go offline with these extensions, and that's great for less maintenance costs and less potential for any type of sewer spill.
And Mark,
So,
can you
yes,
point
sir.
out the ones that are like partial for this year and they're going to be like in next year's budget too, most likely?
Well, for example, if, let me see which one of these. Like Little Beaver Creek Extension on here is for 1.1 million, right? It was on last year's for design only. So if you look in the early stuff, it's listed as an accomplishment, but it's got design to it. So we started last year with the design. So these are the monies needed for this year for the phase of the project in which we're funding. And what we tried to do is look at projects that would not necessarily happen this year, and so you won't see the funding. A great example of that is the Environmental Education Center. We're in the process of doing the advanced programming now, and that will be on the 22nd council meeting to have that discussion about before we move forward with final design. That design will take about a year. Then that puts us at looking at designing what that project is, getting some good cost estimates, and then if council wants to move forward with that project, that will happen in the next budget. So that would be 26, 27.
Okay.
So we didn't try to put a number in there now for a building that when we were almost going to be right there at the end of the year anyway, and we don't have good cost numbers now, right? So we did try to look at the phase and put the money in for the phase. And so these are not all the projects, right? But this equates up to about 18.2 million. And to put that into perspective, we already have over $200 million in capital projects already in progress, like already ongoing. So, you know, so there's a lot going on. It's not 18 million, and this is it. This is 18 on top. So unfunded opportunities, pavement management backlog, 5 million, Jesse Drive Phase 1 construction, 4.35. You go, why are they on there? They do not contribute to our budget in 26, but because they are going to be part of the transportation bond. So they're, you know, we're actually looking at moving those projects forward and doing that work, but their funding mechanism is not part of the budget. Lake Pine Dam replacements, 1.6 million. Load management switch replacement, 1.565. That is for electric. Our load management, we have old switches out there that are basically pager type switches that are, some are losing connectivity. We don't have communication with them. As we do our meter system upgrade project, that's going to give us some more ability to see whether or not these load management switches are connected or not. But we know we have a lot of switches that are out very old, 20 years old, that need to be replaced. But we're going to delay that for right now because we have, right now, Electric Cities is working on getting the new switches tied into their system so they can control the load management from their end, and we don't have to do it from here. And you know, that project will be one that we will want to do. We're just not moving forward with it this year. Staff positions, there's 5 positions that we did not move forward with funding this year, and there's an unfunded FTE position. We actually did not fund the assistant electric director position for this upcoming year. That is a position that y'all approved. We were not successful hiring it in the past. And our electric director has announced his retirement in June 30th this year. So we are waiting until we bring on a new director and let them look at the organizational structure, and it will need to be their hire anyway. Right, we don't need to hire who the assistant director will be. The director will need to do that. So we pushed that off. It is still an FTE position, it's just unfunded. The solar, okay, the one that you're gonna ask questions about, streetlight upgrade to LED, $750,000. That we have taken out for this year. Again, it was just trying to balance the budget. And workload is very high. Solar initiative, that 670, we had, if you recall, we had committed to trying to do 670 a year as we continue to solarize town facilities. We took a bid last week, only got 1 bid. That scares me because that means that person's going to come back and hopefully we get other bids, but 1 bid's never favorable. So not in my experience. That's probably not a fair statement to say never, but not in my experience, it's not. So one of the things with that and potential tariffs and unknown costs, we're unsure of where costs may be this year with technology and these type things. So we're looking at putting that off a year. Hopefully our bid for the electric facilities will come in good, and we will be moving forward with actually building that project this year with money we already have. So we will still be working toward our solar initiative. We're just not going to add to it this year as we're proposing. Training up, S-Line Mobility Hub. I was about to skip the one you want to know about. We want to push that out to the future because right now, Wake Transit has it in their future plan. It's not now. And there's no grants. DOT doesn't have any availability of a grant right now. So if we move forward on it now, it'd be us doing it on our own versus waiting for the county and hopefully doing that in a joint effort.
Thanks.
Training opportunities. We cut $122,000 in training across my portfolio. That's a lot. But if you think about why that would be so high, it's a large portfolio and it's technical in nature. So there's lots of technical training that goes on with it. So we asked people to scale that back, and they did. And so that's all thanks to the directors. The last thing we cut out was the CSX switching relocation, phase 2. Again, that may seem a little odd, but we have a reason for that. We want to push it out and wait on the results of the feasibility of the improvements to the Durham spur, where they're trying to figure out if they can make improvements to that spur line so they can increase the speed of the train. If they can increase the speed of the train, then that allows that hub to be, the switching yard to be moved further south, because it's critical. The location is critical to CSX, timing wise, to get to Durham. And so if they could speed the train up, they can move the switching location further south. If they can't, they say they can't move south. We'd be forced to only looking at how to move it north. So once we have that study, that will allow us to do a better study to really hone in on a location for where that switching yard could be.
Is that study like months out or years out?
I do not know. That is a Campo-led study, and we can try to find out the answer to that question.
Is the expectation that when they do these types of studies for this, that they will want to close more crossings in order to increase their speed?
That would be a very good assumption.
I figured.
I don't know that, but given their concerns with trains and crossings and at grade, if they increase the speed, that could come into play, yes. That total is about $15.4 million in unfunded opportunities. So again, we worked hard across the portfolio to make changes, to make cuts. This doesn't include capital equipment, cars, vehicles, equipment, trailers, and even tools in some places, scanners, things that would make their job better, easier. But they, I will speak about fleet. I was talking to them and they're like, well, we really need that, but if you need to make the cut, we figured a workaround to keep it safe. We can do it. So, but that's the type of conversations we had. And I got a folder back there, it's about 3 inches thick, and that didn't include all my emails with my team. So everybody made a great effort to bring the budget down. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to keep it rolling. I'm going to invite Demetria to come up and speak on the community and safety portfolio.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So I will be giving highlights on the community and safety portfolio recommended budget. And I would like to introduce the community and safety portfolio known as the gold standard team. And they're right over here, Marla Newman, Director of Community Development, Neighborhood Connections, Fire Chief Tim Herman, Director Craig Stetzer of Parks and Recreation and Cultural Resources, and our Police Chief, Ryan Johansson. The organizational chart represents, in the purpose statement, represents our community and safety portfolio. And the purpose statements are representative of the community and safety departments. They form a cohesive portfolio that is rooted in equity, safety, and opportunity, building stronger, more connected communities where everyone can thrive. So as you could see, the community and safety budget totals $63.3 million. Ultimately, we made reductions across 3 major areas: positions through held vacancies and strategic delays, operations, trimming costs where we could, tightening contracts, capital outlay, slowing investment in equipment and infrastructure where it was safe to do so. Under the new positions, we are recommending, under Community Development and Neighborhood Connections, we are recommending Community Engagement Specialist 1, as we're still developing out the department, 2 Town Service Specialists. Under Fire, we are recommending 6 positions. Under Police, we are recommending Program Support Specialist. That's an upgraded position from part-time to full-time. 2 School Resource Officers, that's for the new high school. And under Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources, an Assistant Director, Operations Team Lead for Pleasant Park, Operations Worker, we're recommending 2, Parks Planner, and Program Supervisor in Athletics. The departments worked hard to meet the moment. Every corner of the budget was looked at. We delayed hiring, we pushed back training schedules, we revisited timelines, and scoped out what could be paused and what couldn't. The directors were asked what are some of the top initiatives, projects and programs that will be funded under this, recommended under the new budget and how it relates to the town's strategic plan. So I'm gonna, as you could see here, I'm not gonna go through all of those, but I wanted to highlight some of them. So for the greenways, the Beaver Creek, Middle Creek, Reedy Branch, this allows staff to engage consultants to prepare detailed plans and costs for a future bond referendum and provides ability to work towards strategic goals, aligns with the town council's strategic goals to provide a welcoming community, high-performing government, and economic vitality. Under the community development, we started this program. Now we are recommending that we continue this program. It's the Neighborhood Beautification Grant. The grant relates to the strategic goal of a welcoming community and the objectives to foster community connections and create a sense of belonging. Under Fire, Station 3, renovations, construction to include a warehouse that's in phase 1, and the design of Fire Administration Office Building. This is the Hunter Street Public Safety campus. It represents the fire department's Goal 1, Objective 3, enhancing physical resources and replacement programs. Under Police, the Integral Wellness Program is the new initiative, establishing and sustaining a healthy organizational culture. This will consist of employee engagement surveys. This is very significant, individual and group interviews, performance measures, and this is very significant to APD's morale and their culture. This budget includes the several goals and initiatives designed to enhance the APD's cultural identity and health. These efforts are consistent with the town's goals under a welcoming community and a high-performing government. Under the unfunded opportunities, the directors was also asked what were some of the top initiatives cut from the budget and how it impacts operations. This list, as Randy mentioned, it can also serve as recommendations to you for consideration to want to add back to the budget. So I'll highlight some of these. But I do want to note under new positions, I'll get to that under police, because this is where those positions came from. But for the cricket batting cage, that funding the batting cage at J.C. Park would have provided requested amenities in response to the demand for those facilities, and the deduction impacts, Town Council's strategic goal to provide a welcoming community. Under the training opportunities for community development and neighborhood connections, as a new and evolving department, training focused on working in neighborhoods and to learn different skills and strategies increases staff engagement effectiveness. This meets 3 objectives under the high-performing government goal to provide customer-focused services, attract, retain, and develop our workforce, and promote a culture of innovation and creativity. Also for fire, this impacted fire in terms of their training, $26,000, which was total across community development and neighborhood connections and fire. The training and professional development is vital. The fire department provides multiple services as an all-hazard response department, and much of the training needs requires sending operational staff to off-site training. Impacts are on the fire department's strategic goals and objectives in enhancing training and professional development. Also for fire, the small pickup truck. This is ensuring proper and reliability of emergency response vehicles are ready to respond to emergencies at any time is a top priority. So this also impacts their Goal 1, Objective 3, enhancing physical resources and replacement programs. Under police, the substantial cut to requesting staff positions will have a significant impact on operations and morale in the coming year. The patrol squads are rarely able to meet minimum staffing levels, which are already too low for the town's safety needs. The cutting of these requested positions will likely require that we consider reallocation of sworn staff from specialty units to patrol, which is not a viable long-term solution. So that's really important for you all to hear that. These cuts negatively impact the town's goals of welcoming community, high-performing government, and responsible development. Of course, there are others in the unfunded opportunities, the driving simulator at $220,000, and the recently opened street hockey, the cover in the playground. So these are all of community and safety portfolios recommended. If they're unfunded, but if you decide to put it in these back as Manager Vosperk mentioned, I'm sure the portfolio will greatly appreciate that, and we can certainly at a later time have further discussion on those. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as you can see, a lot of work's gone into the budget across the board within the portfolios, and a lot of hard choices have had to be made on this. Recapping, we believe we've presented a budget that invests in police and fire staffing levels for a safe and welcoming community. We continue the execution of the downtown area plan vision. We've funded voter-approved transportation bond projects. We've added financial capacity for new transportation infrastructure and parks and recreation amenities. And we've implemented a utility rate adjustment to secure the town's water quality, wastewater treatment capacity, and to ensure our electric system remains reliable. Would we love for the budget to be more robust? Yes, we would. And you heard from each portfolio manager on the items that we would love to see back in the budget. Did we have to make those tough cuts? We did. But we also know, as the saying is, I'm subbing in a different term here, but Apex wasn't built in a day. And so we believe the budget that we have put forward represents a balance of being responsive to growth, tempered with what we believe our residents will support in terms of taxes and fees. As we head forward into the next steps, I'm going to go over this briefly and a couple of concluding remarks. So looking at what's left in April, this week we have a joint Personnel and Finance Committee meeting that we anticipate will be heavy focused on the positions that we've talked about today. April 21st and the 24th, we have 2 Finance Committee meetings planned for that week to be focused on budget. Into May, we've got the Town Council Budget Workshop scheduled for May 8th. The 27th, we've got a public hearing on the proposed budget. We've indicated with a little smiley face, hope there's a potential for budget adoption at that time. Also on May 29th, we have scheduled, if needed, a potential budget workshop. And then heading into June, no later than June 10th. We're hoping for budget ordinance and CIP adoption. A couple of other notes as we talk about next steps. You will receive the draft budget book, should be sent out this Thursday. So I know, I can see it in your faces, you're ready for more, right? So this was a high level. The wheels are turning. I saw notes being taken. So you'll get that additional information on Thursday. We are also working in conjunction with the clerk. Budget has typically tracked some of the changes, but we're looking at a mechanism to kind of help out with that in terms of if you all want to propose some different amendments to the budget, how we would track that. So I'm working with Alan and budget staff to see what that looks like. And we look forward to the future discussions, the debates, the questions, and decisions. And so with that, I will tell you that the manager's proposed budget is now yours as elected officials. And we look forward to the future discussions on that. And thank you very much for your time today.
Great job. Great job. Randy, I would just say I really like this process, and I think several on my colleagues will agree. I love the presentation. I love to hear everything. It's hard to stay quiet, you know, and ask questions, but I think it's really important that we just consume everything now. Gives us time to think, and then we'll come back with questions, debate, and all that stuff. So I'm sure it's coming. Any comments from my colleagues?
I love the transparency of this, the openness of discussing what, you know, what had to be cut, what was kept, that type of thing. That helps us understand the picture of what's happening behind the scenes that we, you know, typically don't get to see. So I greatly appreciate that. Also appreciate your recommendations, you know, coming to us with hard recommendations on this is what we think we can do. And this is what we could do, right? So.
I'll say I'm excited that you gave it to us in this format, because I know a lot of what we've asked for in the past has been a little bit more of an idea of what is it that each of the departments need, what are they bringing to the table, and more importantly, what are they leaving off the table, so we've got a little bit more of a perspective as to, you know, when we're shuffling around the dice, what gets moved in what direction. And understanding, I mean, that to me, one of the most critical components of this was the unfunded request. That I know that gives me, and I know my colleagues, a lot more perspective in terms of, okay, what was in that cut and slice that was taking place, and it gives us the opportunity now to hear what you guys really need, and then allows us the opportunity to rack and stack and maybe come back with some things that, you know, are on the funded side that we may consider moving because there may be an unfunded priority that we feel is a higher priority, and that's the part that makes this process so much better. So I thank the manager, all the you know, deputy town managers, assistant town managers, everybody who went into this. I know budget was having a you know, we this is their headache time of the year. We get that. But it's hard work in order to help make this happen. So thanks for the hard work, and I look forward to getting the budget book and you know, hours of reading, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to follow up on Mayor Pro Tem's comment about the unfunded items. In past years, we've done a scenario where you've added in maybe in half-cent increments a tax rate increase that, and then listed the things that would possibly get funded in those. Are you planning to do that this year, or is that in the budget packet for the May workshop potentially?
So we didn't tie it to a specific. I mean, we could certainly come up with scenarios if you wanted to add in, like, what does a half cent look like? We can pick and choose. We've provided options within each portfolio, but I'm sure we could definitely come up if you said we want a half penny more. What would that look like? We would look at a combination of things from the different portfolios to recommend to you from the list that's already provided within each portfolio.
I found that to be a value to help with the discussion. Things that maybe on that unfunded list that maybe are very close to being funded. I don't know if you guys agree or not with that. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, like the mayor said, I'm just, you know, taking a moment to digest what it is, and I look forward to seeing the budget book. And I guess the only comment is to express my appreciation to all the department heads and the portfolio leads. I know we have a budget before us that has a 2.5 cent increase, which sounds like a lot, but given all the needs, and 1.6 cents is from our bond, it took a tremendous effort from everyone in the room to get us to this point. And that was a big haul, and a lot of sacrifices were made already to this point. And that's something I'm going to contemplate as I go through the budget book.
Very well. Thank you so much. Any other information? We're good? Okay. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Clerk, we're taking a recess now, right? Okay. So, 15-minute recess, and then we'll reconvene on the third floor training room. All right. All right, we're in recess. Thank you.